This is The Scoop for Thursday.
I'm Lisa Marzilli with the WMNF News headlines. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency is facing backlash from environmental groups after a December decision allowing Mosaic to use phosphogypsum in a road project in Polk County. WMNF's Chris Young reports that one group is now suing the EPA.
Phosphogypsum is the byproduct of processing phosphate. It contains a radioactive material that the EPA says can cause cancer. The approval from the EPA allows Mosaic Fertilizer to embark on a pilot road project at its facility in New Wales. Now, the Center for Biological Diversity has filed a lawsuit. Reagan Whitlock is the center's staff attorney.
This is a brazen attempt to coddle the phosphogypsum industry instead of protecting human health and safety in the environment.
Due to its public health threats, since 1989, the EPA has required that phosphogypsum be stored in stacks. Now, Whitlock calls the decision to use it in roads contradictory and risky.
The EPA is now turning back the clock on its own independent consultant's findings that this presents an unacceptably high cancer risk.
He encourages those concerned to reach out to their legislators and representatives. An EPA spokesperson told WMNF they do not comment on current or pending litigation. Chris Young, WMNF News.
7 Broward Sheriff's Office employees have been placed on administrative leave amid investigation into a triple murder in Tamarack. 10 Tampa Bay reports Nathan Gingles was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, including of his wife, and is being held in the Broward County Jail without bond. Speaking at a press conference yesterday, Broward County Sheriff Gregory Toney said that investigations leading up to the deadly shootings could have put Gingles behind bars before the tragedy occurred.
It is clear, based on the preliminary information I've been able to acquire so far from our investigators within the Office of Inspector General and Internal Affairs, we fell short on this one. We fell short in a response in terms of how some of the patrol personnel had documented certain facts related to calls going back to December. It's clear that some of the investigative practices conducted by detectives was also a shortfall. And so as we're continuing to gather more facts on this, I'm going to end up back in front of this camera. Make no mistake about it. Because I want to make sure this community continues to trust us and know that when we get this stuff wrong, people are going to be held accountable, and I'm going to step up and own every bit of it.
Toney described the December case as very robust in terms of threat spectrum due to the amount of times Mary Gingles expressed fear that Nathan Gingles was going to kill her. He cited 7 members of his agency that had some involvement with the investigation, predicting that there will be firings. Toney added, "When we rectify the situation, I'm going to send the fear of God amongst this entire agency to make damn sure we don't do this again." Funding recommendations for Florida state colleges and higher education institutions are being considered in the Senate. WMNF's Faith Montalvo reports on how this funding model was developed.
The Senate Appropriations Committee for Higher Education will decide how much funding to put in every state college. The recommendations for this funding consider enrollment growth, credential completion, and program costs. Catherine Hebda is the chancellor at the Florida Department of Education, overseeing the Florida college system. She presented an overview of the model to the committee on Wednesday morning. Hebda says it will ensure that Florida colleges stay accessible to students with a GED or high school diploma and will help them complete their programs.
The presidents thought it was really important that they are held accountable for not just having open access, which is making sure that every Floridian has access to post-secondary education, but they actually finish something.
She says the size of the colleges also impacts the funding they should receive. Faith Montalvo, WMNF News.
The Homeless Leadership Alliance has announced that cold weather shelters in Pinellas County will be open tonight. Shelters are activated when the National Weather Service expects the feels-like temperature to hit 40 degrees or below across the county between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. The Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority will provide free bus rides to and from the shelters from 5 p.m. today through 7 a.m. Friday. Riders must tell the drivers they are going to a cold night shelter when boarding to ride fare-free. It's going to be partly sunny and breezy with highs in the mid-60s today, turning much colder overnight with temperatures falling to the low 40s. Sunny and breezy on Friday with highs again in the mid-60s. I'm Lisa Marzilli with the WMNF News headlines.
This is The Scoop, recorded at WMNF Tampa.